Okay, it looks like it's 4 o'clock, so we are going to get started. Welcome everybody to Build Your Path's Student Series webinar, Getting the Job 101. My name is Kimberly Haar. I work with MCCEI, who owns Build Your Path, as a Strategic Partnerships Manager, or I may know some of you from the ACE Mentor Program of Baltimore, where I am the Affiliate Director. We are really glad to have you all here, and to our two amazing presenters who are about to speak all about how you can get a job in the built environment. Before I pass it over to our presenters, a little bit of housekeeping. Today's presentation is going to be in two parts. The first part is going to be a presentation with a Q&A, and that part will be recorded. We ask you to please stay muted for that portion of the presentation, and any comments, questions, feedback be put in the chat box, which we'll be monitoring. All questions that are put in the chat box during the first part of the presentation will be answered during the Q&A session. After the first portion, we will turn off the recording and we invite everybody to unmute themselves, turn on their camera for an interactive workshop with our presenters that focus a lot more on implementing the tips and tricks that they're going to tell you about today. Finally, before I pass it over, I want to note that for best viewing of the presentation, we ask that you use speaker view. In order to do that, on the top right-hand corner of your screen, you should see a view button. If you then do side-by-side speaker view, you should be able to see the presenter that is talking and the presentation at all times. Again, any questions or comments, please use the chat box as I'll be monitoring it. And I'm going to pass it over to Anna and Missy. Welcome, everybody. Thanks.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Anna Liesch, and I'm the Talent Acquisition Specialist here at Harkins Builders. You can see on your screen a little bit of information about what we do. We're a general contractor. We have offices in Columbia, Maryland, Wayne, PA, and also in Charlotte, North Carolina. We were founded in 1965. We have about 260 employees, give and take. We're an employee-owned company, which is pretty cool, a great benefit that we offer. And we tend to have about 30 to 40 projects that we run every year. And so the talent acquisition specialist, so what position is that? Well, it's part of the HR department. And what I really do is I search for top talent to hire and work for Harkins Builders. How do I do that? Well, events like the one I'm having right now, talking to you and just letting you know about what we do and the positions that we have available. But also I attend a lot of career fairs. And that's when I get to know a lot of students that are looking for a full-time position if they're seniors, or if they're looking for an internship or something that they want to just get experience during the summer. So then I'm able to share with them what kind of positions we have and what they can do in the future. I also help them write their resumes and just give them tips and ideas. But that's pretty much what I do here at Harkins Builders. Now, I can tell you that it might sound easy, review resumes, and then schedule interviews. And believe me, it sounds easy, but it is really not easy. I get hundreds of applications with me all the time, every day. Then I have to review them, and I have to get the best out of the hundreds of applications that I get, and then try to select who I'm gonna interview. And then after the interview, just a handful move forward to the second interview with the hiring managers. That's why we're here, because we really wanna share what best practices and tips that we can share with you to be able to create the best resume that will just stand among thousands. But before I do that, I skip one screen, and I would like to put it back. I want to put it back because I want my co-host to introduce herself.
Thank you, Anna. I appreciate that. So my name is Missy Hawkins. I am the HR director here at Dustin Construction. I've been with the company about 10 years. We've been in business since 1959. We are a lot smaller than Harkins, but we do a lot of big projects. So We primarily specialize in K through 12 construction. It's probably 85% of our workload at any given time. So not only do I do a lot of outreach work with students via career fairs or other educational events, we literally build schools. So we are in the school systems constantly. In addition to that, we do other public work such as police stations, fire stations, recreation centers, and that type of work. We currently have a staff of about 65 employees. So again, a little bit of a smaller scale. And that was one of the things about pairing together we thought would be really beneficial to you guys, especially in this type of industry, because while our company is a little bit smaller and the Anna's is a little bit bigger, we really go about the hiring process in a lot of the similar ways, you know, maybe different levels or you know, amount of candidates that are coming through, but we are all looking for top talent. We're looking for people that are going to be best fit to our organizations and the type of work that we're going to do. So that's part of the reason that we're here today. A little bit more about myself. Before I got into the construction industry, I came from the salon and spa industry. So like complete like other side of the kind of work genre thing, but very similar when you get to the creative aspect of personalities and things like that. A little bit about my role with the company. I oversee pretty much everything that we do when it comes to the HR side. So whether it's your talent acquisition, your employee development, benefit review, you know, looking at performance management, and then just kind of, you know, any other process improvement. So I kind of am a jack of all trade when it comes to that, but I'm really looking forward to discussing this presentation with you guys, and I'm going to turn it over to Anna. So how do we get to meet you guys? What's the first step? So like, how do you even get to this contact with us? And so Anna's going to lead the way on giving you guys the tips and techniques on how we get to meet you.
Thank you, Melissa. So I gotta tell you, Missy right here just reminded me that I myself, I'm new to the construction industry. I came actually from the healthcare industry, where I was recruiting nurses and people that work in the hospital. So it doesn't matter where you go, there's always gonna be an HR department that needs help in recruiting top talent. A lot has to do, again, like Melissa said, with the personality. You have to wanna talk to people and help them and listen to them. I am very passionate about what I do, and I'm really passionate about being here today, sharing with you all these tricks and tips that I have ready for you. So as I was telling you before, I get hundreds of resumes, if not thousands. So what do you do to stand among those resumes? Well, there are ways to do it. There are definitely ways to do it, but I want to share with you some of the ones that I experience frequently, and hopefully you can take note and don't make that mistake. So the first thing is, when you're putting together your resume, make sure that the contact information is correct. And there's been times when I'm calling a phone number, and first of all, sometimes I'm missing a digit, so I can't even call you. Sometimes the email, you misspelled it, so now it's gonna bounce back to me. At that point, there's nothing I can do. There's no way for me to get a hold of you. Now, if the information is correct and you don't answer the phone, I won't be able to leave you a voicemail if you don't set up a voicemail, right? You have to make sure that you set up a voicemail so I can leave you a voicemail. If that happens, by the second time, I'm not gonna keep calling you. I have other hundreds of resumes to review. So that's the most important information. Contact information has to be accurate. Now, when you putting your resume together, make sure that you are sharing the skills that the position is looking for, okay? So a lot of people tend to create one resume for all positions that they want to apply. Just one resume. It looks exactly the same. You have your objective at the top, and your objective is exactly the same whether you're going in the construction industry or if you're gonna go into healthcare. It doesn't matter. So at that point, when I receive that resume that looks exactly the same, I'm gonna pause and say, did this person really do the research? Does this person really want to work for my company? It doesn't look like. I mean, when you're just copying and pasting the same resume, it's just not a good sign. So my suggestion will be, go and do the research of the company that you would like to maybe work full time or do an internship. This also will help you when you're applying to be a volunteer in a nonprofit organization. Sometimes you have to apply and put together a resume. So go and take a look at what they're looking for, and then try to share some of those skills at the top of your resume um, as your objective. Now, another good point is that if you don't have experience, and again, we're talking with a lot of students today, most of you do not have experience where you're going to list all your employment history. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to land an amazing internship or an amazing volunteering opportunity, or in so many other situations, you get a really good full-time or part-time job. Again, you have to apply, right? The steps are going to be the same anywhere you go. But it is so important that if you don't have experience, to include information that is going to make you very unique. Share your story, right? So talk about what you have done, any activities you have done in school, any extracurriculum activities. Maybe when your mom or your dad said, you need to come with me because we're helping this organization. Maybe you did it 3 years ago. It doesn't matter. Add that information, because every little thing that you have done is going to be considered for that opportunity that you're trying to apply. Now, maybe you're taking Spanish class, French class, put it in there. That just means that you're trying to learn something different. Maybe you are helping with, I know a lot of people, a lot of students in Howard County, especially, help with grassroots. Try to put that information in there. A lot of people in Baltimore are helping with people in need, and they put meals together, and they work together with other organizations. All those activities are so important to list. Also, you also want to make sure that if you are taking any special classes, AP classes or honor classes, just, you should be proud of that and add them to your resume, along with any sports that you're taking. Now, when you are adding this information, it's going to be very important that you're describe the role that you took in any of those activities. Don't just list them, like list each of them, but put the time that you work for them or you help them. What was your role? And it's so important sometimes to share some metrics, right? So people that review resumes like numbers, measurements, use some of the words that I'm listing here. I achieve, I influence, I improve, I create, I increase, I resolve, I mentor, I train, I volunteer. All of those words are going to make your resume stand out. How many of you, I'm going to ask a question right here. How many of you have put together a resume on your own? Can you put it in your chat so we can, without any help, you just put a resume on your own?
We have one student who says that they have, another, yep, bunch of yeses rolling in.
All right. Well, I gotta tell you something. I'm gonna tell you a little secret. You can go to, if you're in college, go to your career center. If you're in high school, go to your guide counselor. They can help you put together that resume. They can proofread it for you. They can help you add information that maybe you didn't think about it. There's always somebody out there that will help you put together the best resume. Now, some tips that I want to share with you that perhaps a lot of people don't think about this. And I'm talking about people that been in the work environment for many, many years, and they still make the same mistakes. So now that you are in a student, if you can learn these tips, it will take you to another level. So when you put your resume together, guys, I know it sounds really cool to write with amazing fonts and fun colors, and that's kind of what everybody does right now because it kind of pops out, but that's not really professional. When I receive a resume with different colors and different fonts, it's not consistent. I'm not even gonna read it. It's too much. I just put it aside. So keep in mind that the best font is the ones that I'm showing right here in front of you, and the size 10 to 12. You don't have to go, my name is going to be 15 because this is my name and it's going to be in bold and pink or black, really like bold. And then I'm going to change to 12 over here, and then I'm going to change again to 15 because I play sports, and then I'm going to end with 20. None of that. It has to be consistent, 10 to 12, the size of your font. Now, when you write your resume, again, and I just mentioned that, it is gonna be so important that you really talk about the position that you're applying to. Okay, it's the only way that you're gonna stand out. It is good to put an objective, and a lot of people now these days they rather not put an objective. But when you're in school and you're trying to stand among hundreds of resumes, yes, put an objective at the top and tell us why you want to work for us. Tell me why you will make a difference. It, share your story. Once again, share your story. You're unique. And we want to hear about you. Now, no pictures on your resume. Oh my goodness. So many pictures, always, always at the top of the resume. And they're so proud with your picture. And yes, you guys look beautiful, but we don't care. We don't care about how you look. So please remove your pictures from your resumes. Okay. Now, another thing that I think is very important, that this is a common error that happens so often, is when you have a lot of history of, it could be jobs that you have done in the past, or like we talk about, volunteer opportunities, or extracurricular activities that you have done at school. When you list them, I need you to list them in reverse chronological order, meaning you need to start with the very first one that you're doing right now, right? What's happening right now, and then go backwards. Don't start with when I was in third grade, and then the last one will be here in college. Start with what you're doing right now, and when you start putting that information together, please include the name of the company, include the position that you held or the organization, right? And then the dates that you work for them or you help them. Be very specific too about what was your job and what did you do for them. And then when you finish one, you go to the next one that happened in the past. And then that way you go in a reverse chronological order. A lot of students forget to put what are they studying, right? Where are you attending, if you're attending school? When are you graduating? Those are questions that I have for you. So if they're not on your resume, next, right? So have your education listed with what you're studying and when are you going to graduate. It is really up to you if you want to add your GPA, but if it's a good GPA, why not? Why not? I will say go for it. Again, it's your story, right? And you're trying to stand among thousands. So a lot of resumes include hobbies, and hobbies are great. And I really think that everyone should have hobbies. I think that's very important. But that doesn't, it's not important for the position or an internship that you're applying for. That's not gonna give us a lot of information about the skills or what you can bring to the company. Instead, like I mentioned before, right? Extracurriculum activities, anything that is relevant to what the position of the company is looking for. And if you want to even be ahead of the game, do some research on the company before you apply, and then try to look at the values, the mission, the vision of that company, and see if you can include some of your extracurriculum activities that match with what this company is all about. Before you send it and start applying to different places, have somebody proofread it for you. We all make mistakes with humans. Something that you didn't see, somebody else will see it. It is so important to have a second person just taking a look at that resume. And with that, I'm going to pass it to Melissa.
Thank you. So you did it. You wrote your resume, it got through, it's here, you made it, you made the cut. So what happens next? Well, I guess before we kind of get into that, how many people have actually been on an interview? Answer in the chat. Have you gone on an interview? Have we had anybody had that experience, any of our students?
Yep, got another yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like if you have, someone said a small interview.
Small one. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful.
So we also have different kinds of interviews too. So let me ask another question to the group. What kind of interview have you been on? Was it in person, virtual, phone?
One virtual.
Okay.
There are a lot of interviews are virtual. Another virtual right now, I'm sure. Someone's been in person, phone, and a Zoom interview.
Okay. So we have some guys and girls who've had a little bit of a variety of different types of interviews. And that's something you got to keep in mind too, as we're preparing for the interview. And if you can go ahead and flip to the next slide for me. So before the interview, one of the first things that you need to consider is, what type of interview is it? Am I going to be on the phone? Am I actually traveling to a location? Is it virtual? And from there, we're going to kind of prepare on what we should do to be ready for this interview. So going with the traditional interview, if you're going to a location and you're going to be meeting with somebody in person, the first thing you want to do is find out where they're located. We all are pretty much, I guess, I would say the majority of us on the call here are in the DC metro area. And I hope, or we'd like to think that most of you know how traffic is around us. Not good. Especially me, I have to travel down to 70 into the city a few times. So it gets kind of harrowing. Something that should take you 20 minutes, according to like mileage, can take like an hour. So one of the first things you want to do if you're going somewhere is make sure you know how long it's going to take you to get there. Secondly, where do you park? Is there parking on site? Are you going to have to park and walk? Are you going to have to pay for parking? You want to make sure, if you have all these things going on, that you plan enough time to make sure that you can get there, and be on time for the actual interview that you're taking. Okay. So those are your first couple of things. If you're doing a phone or a virtual interview, you're like, well, I don't really need to worry about how long it's going to take me to get there. It's wherever I'm going to be sitting. So I can just sit down and be ready to go. Sure thing. But there's also a couple of things that you need to keep in mind, especially when you're doing a virtual interview. First, have you ever used the platform that they are engaging in? So today we're on Zoom. I know my company uses a couple of different platforms. We have Zoom, we have GoToMeeting, we use one called Blue Jeans. A couple of our providers that we work with use a couple of different ones like Cisco. There's Microsoft Teams. So there's a couple of different things. So when you're going to do this virtual interview and you get your invite and you see the platform that's going to use, you want to make sure that you have that software. You don't want to log on if your interview is at 4 o'clock and just log on and be like, oh no, my computer's doing a download, or it's taking forever to load. And now all of a sudden you're late for your interview because your computer was taking too long. So make sure if it's going to be virtual, you take that time to make sure that you're ready to go. Second part of that, and this is going to kind of go along with your phone interview, make sure you have good Wi-Fi. You know what I mean? So you want to make sure you have a nice, strong signal, again, because this is your time to tell your story. Your paper got you through the door. Now it's your time to shine. So you want to make sure that you've got, the technology that you're using is going to help you be your best on this interview. Same thing with cell phone. You want to make sure that you've got a nice, strong signal, that, your phone is in good working condition. So that way that people can hear you on the other end. Okay. Then, another thing to kind of get ready before your interview is you're applying for this position, but this is where you want to be right now. So where do you want to be in a couple years? Because one of the things that I know Anna and I both asked through the interview is like, what's your growth process? What's your ultimate goals? You want to make sure that you have an answer ready for that if called upon during your interview. And then the other technique that, no matter if it's a virtual interview or if it's a telephone interview or if you're in person, practice answers to questions, okay? Be prepared, kind of have a rundown of what you think you may be asked during the process. Typically it's tell me about yourself. We want to learn a little bit more than what your paper says. So give me a little bit of information. Why did you apply for this job? You know what I mean? Have an answer ready so that way you're ready to go and you're not like, well, I saw the ad and I'm a major in this, or I just thought it would be really interesting, put some thought into it and have something good prepared for you. The other thing is too, and Anna had mentioned this before, is, we're learning about you during the interview, but, part of this is you learning about us. So before you get here, show us that you're interested in learning who we are and that you want to be a part of our organization. So, see the type of work that we do, see where we work, what is our mission, what are our values, find something interesting, make sure you write it down and have an understanding of who we are. So that way you can converse more, efficiently and effectively about the type of organization that you're going to be working for. And then again, work on your self-introduction, make sure that you take that time to tell us about yourself, to kind of give yourself a light that shines, not just like, hi, I'm Missy. My degree is in HR. I got a master's from McDaniel College. I like, training and development. You really want to give yourself a kind of a nice, well-rounded view, and be confident about yourself. And a couple other things too, we're kind of hit on this a little bit more, is just when you're getting ready for your interview, especially more virtual and phone, because that seems to be our life right now. And especially because of COVID and these interviews have been more prominent. Make sure that wherever you are able to focus solely on your interview. If you have a roommate, if you're a college student, if you've got a roommate and you have to share a dorm and that's where you're doing your interview, make sure your roommate is either not in the room or is like completely quiet. You don't want that distraction in the background because it's going to take away from you. Same thing for my high schoolers. If you're living at home and you've got siblings and somebody's watching TV, go to a private area to make sure that way your entire focus is on, the conversation that you're having. Okay. So those are your kind of steps before the interview. Once you get in there, how do you make that first good impression? What are some simple things that you can do just to kind of get off on the right foot? First of all, please, please, please be on time. A lot of times, and Anna and I both, it's like, if I'm doing interviews, I've usually got one scheduled right after the other. So we've got a time limit that we're looking to meet with you. Make sure that you're on time and make sure that you're prepared for the interview. Dress professionally. Again, even if you were on a virtual meeting, this is a professional, interview, make sure that you are dressed professionally and it shows that you have interest in this, you're taking it serious. Strong greeting. Hello, hi, how are you doing today? Just make sure, if you're shaking hands, shake a hand, and just be like, easy, casual conversation, but just, hi, how are you doing? It's so good to see you. Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me today. Be aware of your body language. This is kind of hard, especially for a lot of you guys. I know it'll be a challenge because you're nervous. This is new. You don't have a lot of experience with this. So just make sure, again, that you're aware of yourself. You're not tapping or shaking or clicking, you know what I mean? Find a way to just kind of be self-aware about how you're sitting or how you're presenting. Again, I already mentioned it, do some research about the company and then be excited about the opportunity. There's nothing more disappointing when we meet with a candidate who we're excited about on paper, and then you finally have the time to meet with them, whether it's face-to-face or screen or phone, and you get, hi, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here. You know what I mean? Make sure that your excitement for the position does go through and transverses through whatever media that we're using to interview you with. Alrighty, next slide. You ready, Anna, for the next one?
Oh, you don't see it?
No, it took me a minute to pop up. Thank you.
Do you see it now?
I got it. Thank you very much. All right, guys. So, that was the prep and then right before the interview. So what do you do during your interview? be relaxed and be confident. And especially as new interviewees and as students, this is probably the biggest challenge that you guys face. And I can say that with confidence because even when I interview, I still get nervous. And especially even doing a presentation like this now, like, you know, we kind of work in this world every day, but it's still a little bit nerve-wracking. So what you just got to do is just, you know, hey, I know myself, I know my content, I know who I am as an individual, I know my background, I've done my research, you know what I mean? So that's going to help you do these things to be relaxed and be confident. Think before you speak. I think a lot of times students and even, you know, other older candidates that I've worked with, they get so much in a hurry to answer a question that they just rapid fire answer. Take the time, you know, to really understand and just make sure that what you're trying to say comes across, you know, you get it clear. One of the other things I'll tell you too is during your interview, take notes. So, you know, you guys are going to be talking about a lot of different things. You know, we're going to be asking you questions. There's going to be dialogue going back and forth. There's also different types of interviews that you can do. So you may be on a panel interview. So one of the things that I recommend is take notes, especially if you've got more than one interviewer. That way they introduce themselves. So it's like, hey, I'm Missy. Hey, I'm Anna. Hey, I'm Kimberly. Hey, I'm Matt. Hi, I'm John. You've got everybody's names written down. So that way, if you have a question for somebody or you forget later, or you want to thank somebody at the end, you know, you've got all that information there. And then you've got notes. So that way you can make a question and kind of help with dialogue going back and forth. The other thing is, answer all questions. We're telling you, yes, to think before you speak, take your time, but please don't say, I don't know. You may not know, or you may not have experienced something, and that's okay. So one of the things that we always tell everybody is, or what we, you know, Anna and I both agree on is that, you know what, you can say, you know, I appreciate that question, but I've never really had that experience. You know, I never really had to work in that, or I never had to have a situation like that. I've been in a situation like that. However, if I had, this is what I'd like to think, or how I think I would have solved it, or how I would like to have think I would have reacted in that situation. Or you can kind of play it back to us at the interview, like, you know, I've never done that. How many times have you been in that situation? And you know, I think this might be a good solution. Is that something that you used in your work history, or is that something that's happened in this organization? You know what I mean? There's different ways to like listen and play back, because we know, especially with you guys in these new entry-level positions, just coming out of school, especially for internships, you're newer to the organization. You may not have had the opportunities to do some of the stuff that we're going to ask about, but there's a way to effectively have a conversation about it. And it's all in how you answer it. And what this does is it really kind of helps us see how you're going to do on your feet. So like somebody who can take one of those questions, you're like, you know, Missy, I really don't have any experience in that. You know, I didn't have that personally. But, you know, I think that, you know, if I made a mistake or, you know, messed something up, that, you know, first thing I would do is I would tell my supervisor, hey, this is what happened. I need to figure it out. I think if this would be the best solution for that, you know, and kind of move forward. We're looking for somebody who is a problem solver, because what that shows to us is, hey, you don't have the experience, you're willing to try, you're hardworking, and you're not intimidated by the position. So it kind of helps speak to your abilities, even though you may not necessarily have that experience. So these are all different things that you can do during your interview time. Now, how do you end the interview? So you're talking, you're grooving, you're going through it. So what do you do at the end of your interview? Like, how do you get there? So ask questions. You know, you always want to have a question, whether it's something that you guys discussed or something about the company in general. Like, you know, what is your company? If it's not clear on the webpage, what is your company's value? What kind of, you know, skills do you find that your best performers or your top performers have? You know, something to the nature of, you know, what is the project that you are most proud of that you've done at your job? You know, kind of bounce that thing back, because it also helps you not only engage about the conversation, but really get a feel of the internal culture of the people that you will be working with. So that kind of helps in that state as well. You always want to restate that you are interested in the position, you know, and just say, you know, I'm really thankful. You know, it sounds like an exciting opportunity. I think I'd be a great fit. You know, what are our next steps? Where do we go from here? And then you go from there. And then it gives you a time frame, so you know when to expect to hear back from me or from Anna, whoever the recruiting manager is. You know, is this the only interview I'm going to do? Chances are it's probably not. You may have another one with a different team. You might have to come in person if this was a virtual or phone at first. But this lets you know what's going to happen next. And then always send a thank you. Thank you so much for your time. It was I appreciate speaking with you. Look forward to hearing back, and it gives you a chance again to reintegrate of how interested you are in the position and how you're looking forward to the next steps.
All right. So they are things that you should do during the interview and things that you should not be doing during the interview. I'm going to just go over a few that probably Missy already touched on a few of them. But being on time, I cannot tell you, and Missy mentioned this, being on time is so important. Things happen. There's accidents. I mean, sometimes things just happen, right? And we do understand we're all humans. But, and yes, maybe you stuck in traffic, you can call us, like do something to let us know that you are in a situation and you can be here on time. But if you are just coming in 10 minutes late and just like, hey, my name is John, I'm here for an interview, and don't even apologize, because that happens to me, it just looks so bad. That's a big red flag. Now, my suggestion will be to be at least 10 minutes early. That way, maybe the interview is not going to start 10 minutes early, but the person that is going to be inviting you into the lobby is going to note that you're there 10 minutes early, and it's going to let the recruiter know. And that's good points in your favor. Talking, right? We are nervous, of course. It's your interview. You want to do your best. And even if you're shy, even if you don't know what to talk about, all of those feelings are normal. But you gotta break the ice, right? So when you come in, it is okay to say, how you doing today? If it's raining, hey, it's raining really bad outside. It was kind of crazy to find a parking lot. I'm glad I made it. When they offer you to have a seat, you're like, thank you so much. Like, respond to those conversations that people are trying to have with you. Because I'm telling you something, as soon as you enter that room, the interview starts. The interview doesn't start when you sit in front of me. The interview starts way before, because I'm going to go back and talk to them and say, hey, how this person behave. And that's big it's just a lot of information that I need to see before I make a decision to see if I bring you to a second interview or if I put you in front of the hiring managers. Missy mentioned this. Answer the questions. Yes, you are not going to know all the answers, especially if you're a student. Try to, when they ask you a question, try to put yourself in college, when you or in school, in high school, when you have to work with a team, and when you have to maybe be a team player, or when you have to be a good listener, or you have to step in and say, guys, we need to finish this presentation, and nobody has really come up with any information. We're gonna start here. Like, you can kind of become a leader by putting those and sharing those situations with the interviewer. It's just it's telling us that you are resourceful, and that you can think outside the box, and that even if you don't know something, you're gonna find ways to do the job, right? Engage in the back and forth conversation. If they're asking you for feedback about how was the interview, do you have any questions, please don't say I don't have any questions. You gotta have a question, even if it's about ask questions about the company. What are my expectations? If you were to hire me, what do you expect me to do? How are you gonna train me? Am I gonna work with others? Am I gonna be how's the atmosphere? Am I gonna be working in an office, sitting on a desk, or I'm gonna be walking around? What are the hours? How much do you pay? All of those questions are so important, and it just shows that you care and that you're prepared. So it's really important that when you are finishing that interview, to then say, hey, I have a few questions for you. They have a lot of questions for you when they were asking you and learning about you. Now is your time to learn about them. And it is okay to ask questions. Maintain good eye contact. When I have a candidate and an applicant in front of me and they just looking down all the time, or moving around, or just like sitting like this. It's just not, the nonverbal says a lot, a lot. In fact, 70% of the conversation is nonverbal. I can pick up a lot of information from what you're not saying. So just keep an eye on that. Dress professionally, even if you're in Zoom. An interview is an interview. So just because you're having an interview at home doesn't mean that you can be in your sweats. So please, 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 the same way that you will be in front of somebody if you were to come into the office is the same way if you were to be in Zoom. Be honest. Don't try to assume or to show them that you know the answer, or I have done this, I have experience on this, on that, because more likely they're gonna ask you, well, tell me about it. How did you go about that? How do you handle it? And you're gonna fail. You're gonna be like, you're just not gonna be able to answer, and we're gonna be able to tell, and that's just not gonna look good. I don't know the answer, but if I were in this situation, this is what I will do. But it's okay to say, I haven't experienced that. That's fine. We don't know it all. And we know that when you come here as an entry-level position or as an intern, you're coming to learn. So we're okay. We expect you to say, I don't know. Again, super excited, right? You want to be excited and confident. You gotta believe in yourself. I mean, if you don't believe in yourself, who's going to believe in yourself? I mean, you have to, it starts with you, right? Starts with saying, you know what, I got this. I already went, I mean, half of it was to apply. Now I'm in front of them with an interview. So I'm already way ahead of many, many other people. So let's just make the best of it. And there's also things that you should not be doing, but I'm going to have Missy handle that part.
Yes. So all the things we're telling you to do, there are also as a side to it tells you not to do. And we've hit on a lot of this already in telling you what to do. So obviously, do not be late. That's a big no-no. Don't be clueless about who you're applying for. Like, take it seriously. If you don't know much about the company, we're like, then why do you even want to work here? Make sure you know. Make sure you bring copies of your resume. That way you always want to have, just in case you have like, you may have an interview where you think it's with one person, or there may be another guest who's joining, if it's a panel or somebody else on the team, just always have extra copies of your resume. So just make sure you do that. One that really kind of drives me batty is, and especially because our industry is so small and we rub, you bump into somebody so many different times, is talking bad about a previous employer. There's ways to discuss, maybe discontent that you've had, you know what I mean, and why you're looking for a job, but just to say, oh, my boss was such a jerk, he made me do this, or it was just awful, you know what I mean? Take that and put a spin on it to the sense of, I'm looking for a new job. At the last place I worked for, we were, the whole focus was supposed to be, we were on innovation and like improving processes. But, every time we would try to do something, we put an initiative together, it just seemed to kind of stall. And I could see that there was really no forward momentum. And I've been really passionate about, improving processes and finding a way to be more efficient in our industry, and developing a better way to draft like an RFI or something else, or like submittal processing. And I just wasn't finding that. And that's why I'm looking for my job, a new position in construction. Like, take a spin to it, but just don't tell me, oh my God, these people were horrible. They don't know what they were doing. Like, my boss was awful. Don't do that. That just doesn't serve anything. Again, make sure you ask questions. Don't forget to do it. Don't dress like our gentleman on the slide here. You want to look put together, hair combed. Guys, make sure you're shaven. You don't want to look all disheveled. Don't be unenthusiastic. Don't tell them you're nervous. Don't mention money too soon, because if you're just coming in wondering how you're going to get paid, it's going to make me wonder, okay, you just want to know how much money you're making. You're not really interested in the position. I don't really see that you're motivated by anything else other than what you're going to get paid. So it doesn't really kind of rub the right way for me. And then again, we put on there not asking questions. So don't forget to ask questions, and don't not ask questions. So those are just kind of some of the things of what not to do. I don't want to focus too much on those because we want to give you more of the positive, which we've been going through. And next, what we want to do is kind of to help prepare you is to show you some interview questions that you may see. So I'm going to turn it back to Anna. These are ones that we've kind of found that, you know, both of us ask every time we interview for the most part. So we wanted to kind of share these with you.
I gotta tell you, we keep telling you and sharing with you. They're gonna ask you questions. Be able to be prepared, practice your answers. But if you don't know the questions, how are you supposed to know what you're gonna practice, right? We always wanna know about yourself, and that's really vague. My only suggestion is that practice what you wanna say, write it down and practice, and don't go too deep into your personal life. My suggestion, and I'm sure Melissa will agree with me, is that you wanna tell them who you are, maybe what school you're attending, why are you applying for this position, what are you passionate about, and don't go too much into. You can talk about your hobbies, that's not a problem, but just be consistent and just in a few words. Don't just go on and on and on, because that will come later with other questions that they might ask you. Now, they're going to ask you what skills do you have that have helped you succeed. And again, when you may say succeeding what, right? Like that's a little bit tricky. Well, succeed on anything that you have been. I mean, if you finish a project, if you graduated from high school, if you graduated from college, if you pass a very difficult test, I mean, any milestone
Make it
in
a
your
sports
life.
team, right? Like if you.
Well, yeah, you made it in the team.
Yeah.
I mean, you're the captain, or you were just accepted in the team. Anything like that is successful. But so what did you do to make it happen, right? So just be prepared for that question, because it's gonna come. It's gonna come in the interview. Tell me about a time when you have had to use good decision making and problem solving skills in order to accomplish something. And you may say, but I never even had a job in my life. That's okay. Go back to your experiences. Okay, go back to when you're in high school, when you're in college, when you're with your team, something that you accomplished. What did you do? Maybe there was a situation that was difficult, but you made good decisions by using problem solving skills. So then just share that information with them. They're going to ask you this question: what makes you unique compared to others? That's share your story once again. Even if you don't think that that's better than maybe somebody else applying, you don't know who's applying. You can worry just about yourself. Can't worry about anyone else. Tell me about a time when you had to work as a member of a team. Again, even if you haven't worked, you've been member of a team. Even in your family, even at home, you're a member of a team, right? I mean, the family is a team, and there's situation that happened. What was your task? How did the process go? What was your role? You can just go back to any of those activities that you have done in the past. Don't just say never done it, sorry. That's just not gonna cut it. Okay. Do you work better by yourself or as part of the team? Now, this is a tricky question though, because maybe you do work better by yourself or you do work better as part of the team. My suggestion is to be honest and to say, you know what, whatever you feel, like if you do work better by yourself, that's not a problem. Tell them that, but then suggest or offer, I'm also willing to work as part of a team. Because if you don't share, if you're not flexible with being as part of a team or by yourself, you don't know what they're really expecting from you. And those questions are going to come before they share information about the job. So just be flexible. What motivates you? Don't just right, like I don't know what motivates me. I guess I don't know. No, practice those questions. do your research, talk to your family, your friends, your coaches, um, em, write down the answers and practice them, because they're gonna come at all times when you're doing interviews, whether it's for an interview or an internship or for a full-time position.
Yes. And so to help you with that and to help you guys practice, we've got a link down here. And if you Google like interview help, there's 1,000 sites and everything that'll pop up. There's
Oh yeah.
help online. You can go to themuse.com and they have a great source. They give you a bunch of different questions. They give you suggestions on how to answer and how to respond. So we highly encourage you guys to check it out and to kind of help yourself. And the other thing with that, again, is to practice. So, you know, just like you would for a test or like you would to prepare for like, you know, a big sporting event, you know, you need to practice your skills. And this is a skill that you will continue to need to have as you go through your life. And so just continue to practice. And with that, we're just going to turn it over back to Kimberly real quick before we go into the questions, and then we'll go from there. Okay.
Missy and Anna, thank you so much. This is extremely informative. For any of the students on the call who wanted the link, I did put it in the chat box. So that is a great way. You can copy and paste it there so that you can get the interview questions and answers. I am going to share a little bit more information on how you can find out about careers in the built environment through Build Your Path. We got a lot of great information about how you can land the job, but what job do you want? And that exploration is something you still may be discovering. Buildyourpath.org, which I'm going to share the screen for now. Hopefully everyone is seeing it okay. Buildyourpath.org is a wonderful resource for this. As you can see, and for some reason it's slightly distorted. As you can see, there are a plethora of careers here that you can explore and learn more about. But there's also a very interesting, you know, resources like a podcast series hosted by my colleague Matthew Pine, who actually interviews people in the industry about their work and what they do, so you can hear firsthand, you know, experiences. We also have a video series. If you click on the videos here on the left, which goes in depth over what the built environment is, and over, you know, the next few months, we'll have consistent posts about various careers. So construction project manager is on here. There are a plethora of other careers on Build Your Path's YouTube page. So I want to make sure you know that, buildyourpath.org. And there's also a guidebook. The new guidebook is coming out in the next few weeks. Many of you have probably seen it. If you are going to a Maryland high school, you've likely come in contact with these Build Your Path guidebooks. But we want to let you know that the new one is coming soon. The old versions can be accessed through the resources tab here, and you can see digitally. But the new will be released digitally soon, so you guys will receive that in your email. With that, if anyone has any questions, I encourage you to please put them in the chat box now, or we are going to move into the workshop portion for a few minutes before we end. We actually do have one question, Anna, Melissa, whoever wants to answer it. A student asks, if you receive awards, should you be including those on your resume?
Absolutely.
Yes,
you do.
that tells your story.
That you're telling your story, you're trying to share what you have done. Absolutely.
Wonderful. We had another question. Should they be using resume templates?
If it helps you get your information together, I think that would be great. As long as it comes across where it's neat, it's readable, it's following the guidelines that we set across, a template is absolutely fine.
Again, no pictures, okay?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Another question was, should LinkedIn accounts be featured on the resumes, or should they use a LinkedIn account at all? I think I might have misinterpreted, so we could do a two-part question there.
Go ahead.
Go first.
Well, yes, I mean, I use LinkedIn all the time. So adding your link, it will just give me an opportunity to go and see what you have done. It's you don't have to add it, but it's just one extra step of information.
And to piggyback off of what Anna said, another thing is it gives you the opportunity to kind of network and see other people in the industries and that you're looking for. So it's always good to have one. But I'm at the same opinion with her as far as keeping it on your resume. It's just another good thing for us to see that you have, you know, but the networking is probably a big portion of it.
And when you, one more thing, when you're
Yeah.
putting together your LinkedIn account, no selfies, no with a team, with your friends. It has to be professional, just you with it's just professional. It's not really Instagram, it's not Facebook. It's really it's a venue for professional relationships. So just look at it that way.
Great. Additional question we got was, should OSHA certificates be included on?
Yes,
Absolutely.
100% yes.
And CPR,
CPR, first aid.
first aid. And then also, I think it's important that you have a section where you can add all the technology that you're familiar with. Because now these days, you should know technology, but it's not just, oh, I know Excel and Word. What else have you been exposed to? I mean, do you know Adobe? Do you know Dynamics? I mean, something special
Bluebeam,
like
Microsoft
Bluebeam,
Project, like all that
Procore.
kind of stuff.
Yes.
And I will tell you, and this goes for anybody who's looking for a career, like even as a carpenter or an electrician, or if you're looking like in mechanical fields, you know, all of our guys, you know, and especially the tradesmen are using Bluebeam as a way to look at the drawings, understand how to read their plans and specifications. So that's important. So if you've got experience with it, put it on there. It's very important.
Wonderful. The next question we have is the screening process for a co-op the same? And where's a good place to start looking for co-op positions? To piggyback off that, the next question is, where's a good source to look for jobs? So students are looking for those entry-level positions, co-ops, internships, can kind of group those together. Where are some good places?
You want me to say some?
I was going to say, you can start it with the co-ops. I can't really comment too much on the co-ops. It's not something that Dustin offers, so I'm not really too familiar with that. Anna, do you guys do co-ops?
Yes. Okay. So we have done a few, and honestly, it's just when the time is right, and we have a project that can take somebody for 6 months, and then you go back to school 6 months, and then you come back. It's not the typical internship that we will. That's why it's called co-op instead of but it's pretty much an internship. We have one person from Drexel, and now he's hired as a full-time estimator. It took 3 or 4 years for him to working with us on and off, but it's not easy to get a co-op unless the opportunity, the project, and the time is right. With co-ops, what was the other question, Kimberly?
More or less, where's a great place for students to be looking for their jobs, their co-ops, their internships as it relates to the built environment? So are there any places that your companies post or know that students should be looking for these opportunities?
I will say the first place is career fairs. You have to go to the career fairs, even if they're virtual. I mean, we're there. And we take them just as seriously. We're always there. Get to know the people that are attending the career fairs from the company, because it's not always me. Sometimes it's the people that attended those schools and graduated from those schools. Talk to your guidance counselor, right? I mean, they have connections with us. They talk to us all the time, so we can at least tell them, hey, these are opportunities that I have right now. Get involved with build your network, volunteer somewhere, look for a nonprofit organization. You never know who you're gonna meet. I mean, you just never know. It could be somebody, you could be volunteering to plant flowers somewhere. I'm saying this because it's Earth Month, but say you're planting somewhere, you're going to the field, you're planting, and then somebody else is planting something, you get to talk, and that person works for a company that they're looking to bring interns or to bring full-time positions. You just never know. So you always have to be in your best behavior. Gotta tell you that.
Exactly. I mean, that's the other thing too. And especially anybody, like I always tell a lot of my high school students that I interact with, and even like my college students that we get, you know, when you have a job, especially if you're working at a restaurant, if you're working at like even like a doctor's office, like I came from the salon and spa industry, and it gave me a lot of interaction with clients and customers, and especially at the salon where you had people who were coming back, you know, with they're getting their hair cut or something like that every 6 weeks. And so you got to know these people and they got to see you working in your environment. And then if they know about you and they know you're in school or they know you're doing this, like, hey, you know, my neighbor works for XYZ and they take interns. Give me your resume. Let me pass it over. Let me put you into contact. And people are much likelier to interview somebody from a recommendation from a colleague. So if you get a referral and like having that network and having that, you know, ability to do that, it really makes a good job, or like a good way, a good segue. And then just to kind of, as far as where else to look for jobs, like, you know where you want to work. Like, do you want to work in our area? What companies are in our area? Like what businesses are around that do the work, you know, that you're interested in? So are you looking for working for a general contractor? Are you looking at mechanical engineering? Are you looking at electrical? You know, Google what's here and look at their sites and go through their pages and find out who their staff is. You know what I mean? A lot of times, like our Dustin page, it has my information on there. You can see me, it has my picture, and then you can either email me through the page, or you can get on, like, again, through LinkedIn or something like that, make that connection, just said, you know, so that way you have an introduction and that way your name keeps popping up and you become familiar again. Those would be my suggestions.
Also keep in mind, even though we hire people in construction, all companies have an HR department, a marketing department, an IT department, an accounting department. We don't hire just people in construction. We hire across the board, so it doesn't matter what your passion is. All the stuff that we talked today about, it will be helpful for you in any industry that you go into.
Thank you both. If there are any more questions, please put them in. I want to give a plug. Here at MCCI, we do have a job board that is continuously being updated. We have entry-level jobs and internships that do pop up on there. So, you know, put this as a favorite if you're continuously looking. Keep an eye out there. And on, you know, LinkedIn, every single job I've ever gotten is because I knocked on someone's door and said, I want to work for you. So highly recommend. Great point there, Missy. Are at 5 o'clock. And did have a workshop portion of the event. I wanted to invite Anna and Missy. Maybe we have another event where it's a little bit more interactive, since we are at 5 o'clock.
Absolutely.
This was a wonderful conversation with really great questions. Students, we will be sending information. We will get another small 30-minute workshop on the books. And if you did not send your resume in and you want feedback on that, now that you've heard all of these tips and tricks, this will give you an opportunity to get us your resume so that we can provide feedback on that. You will receive another email requesting for those resumes. So please keep an eye out for that. I want to thank everybody for joining. You will get this recording shortly after, as promised, and we look forward to seeing you at our next student series.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for coming. It was wonderful.
Bye-bye. Believe in yourself.
Seriously.